What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to Straight Facts, a sports show that educates and entertains. I'm your boy, James Jackson, with a full roster, man. I feel like it's been a minute since a full roster. Everybody here. Jake Galley, Kyle Sirik, Stat Matt Robinson, and we ready to get it rolling. This past week was very entertaining in the sports world, especially with one of the most exciting times of the year, and that's the NBA trade deadline. It did not disappoint. And that brings us right to the facts straight at you. By trading Nikola Vucevic, Evan Fournier, and Aaron Gordon, the Orlando Magic traded away 58.8 points per game. That's 56.2% of total teams scoring. So we got to go down and go through all these deadline deals. And that may be the most notable one from Orlando's end. And that's Nick Vooch, Al-Farouq Amino to Chicago for Otto Porter, Wendell Carter, and 2 first-round picks. So just off the bat, I know, Jake, you were really high on this pick. We have to unpack this and why it was such a big deal, really, for Chicago and Orlando, for both of them, like really impactful.
Yeah, I personally, and I got dunked on for saying this at work, but I think Nick Vooch is like a top 20 player in the league. He's close. He's borderline is what we eventually agreed on. I think he's around like 18, 19. But for Chicago, you're giving up Wendell Carter and Otto Porter. In my opinion, those two guys, their ceiling, they're close to their ceiling. I mean, they are what they are at this point in the league. I don't think overall that they're going to get that much better going forward. And you bring in a guy, Nick Vucevic, who's an all-star. You pair with Zach LaVine, and now you add one more star to that roster. That is like a title contender. They are going to have a very tough squad for the next few years. I love the move.
I saw Kyle like that. You said title contender. Kyle was like,
one more star?
One more star on that team, though?
One more star on defense. They have no defense.
They're close.
They're going to be playing games that are 140 to 135.
That's fine as long as they win them.
They're going to lose as much. That's like Bills are slightly outside of the playoffs. They'll be like a slightly over 500 team.
Go ahead. What you were going to say, Kyle, because
they're close. I need to see more production out of some other guys, though. I mean, Kobe White, I thought was going to take a bigger jump than he did this year, and I'm not sure Zach LaVine can really carry a team. And hey, Vucevic has got teams to the playoffs, but what has he done with them? I know there've been 8 seeds and they win a game here or there, but I'm not sure about title contender with one more piece. I mean, we haven't even seen this team play yet.
You get a player, and Jake says like one more. Like star. One more player who's better than Nick Vooch. Like, he ain't got to be like the top 5 players in the league. But if Nick Vooch is pseudo 20th, 25th best player in the league, get a guy in the teens, and I think they're a true title contender. You're telling me a guy like Russell Westbrook, if he goes to the Bulls aren't a title contender?
They're not, no.
Really?
Russ couldn't do it with guys way better than that.
No, I mean, they're not.
But they were still title contenders.
It's a tall task to be a title contender.
That'll be the best team.
They might be a fun team that maybe wins a round in the playoffs, but they're not a title contender.
If Patrick Williams turns out to be a great pick, because a lot of people thought they reached on him, and he's been looking good.
He's a good defender, too, to match
hasn't got the minutes yet, and Kobe White takes a leap, and they add another piece, sure. But I'm talking a year or two down the road from now, and it's tough for me to see it, because I'm not sure. I haven't seen Vuce in a game that matters. I haven't seen Zach LaVine in a game that matters. I mean, we're talking about guys that don't even have the experience yet being a title contender, because one more piece, I got to see it.
That's fair. I just think overall, and then also the other layer to this that I love, Nick Vucevic's deal is super team friendly. He declines like $2 million every year. So by the time that he's in the 3rd year of his deal, he's about $6 million cheaper than he is right now. You now have added room to go. I mean, Chicago's somewhat of like a destination. I don't know if players are flocking to Chicago like they do to Miami and LA.
Big market.
Right. I mean, you've had guys like AD say that he would love to play in Chicago. I'm not saying they're going to get AD, but there is now a possibility. You open the door compared to, at the beginning of this season last year, you look at Chicago. I think they're leaps and bounds better than that team that they were. Arturas Karnisovas, I think I nailed that name. Their GM, he works in silence. We had no idea this move was coming, but he's solid, and I personally trust him to build a contender in Chicago.
Yeah, and I think you're down on Chicago a little bit, Kyle. You're talking about guys who haven't been in games that mattered. Like, maybe, but I mean, Nick Vooch isn't – he has playoff experience, first-round playoff experience, whatever. He's been to the playoffs. And I don't think he's been with this talented of a team. You give him one more
And
star with star power like Zach LaVine. Don't forget Laurie Marketing. All his injuries is still on the squad too.
I gotta see it from him for sure. But
I hear you. You got to see
I
it.
think I think what Jake just said, that they are leaps above where we saw this team at the beginning of the year last year. I completely agree with that. I'm just not. I can't get on board with the title contender
They
until I
were
see
horrible
something.
last year. Now they're decent.
They're above
Oh,
decent.
they're
They
above,
should.
thank you. They're above
They
decent.
they are above decent now. They should make the playoffs. If they don't, I'll be surprised. But they're not there yet.
Okay,
They're not
well,
there
let
yet.
me try to find a deadline deal that you like then, because I thought we were starting that off hot. Like I thought we were all going to be like, yeah, good for the Bulls. They're deep in the playoff contention, but like that we were mixed bag on that one. So how about I hit close to home then? George Hill to Philly for Tony Bradley and Austin Rivers to OKC. Terrence Ferguson to the Knicks. But the biggest part about that, y'all 76ers get George Hill, some veteran point guard presence in the half court. It's what I've been screaming about for the Sixers. So does this deal sit better with you a little bit?
I like it.
Love it.
No one loses the trade. Picks go. And Tony Bradley, thanks for the perfect game the other day. But
Yeah,
George,
that's
George,
what got y'all this deal was Tony Bradley's game against the Warriors.
And the
George
Joel
Hill,
cosign.
it's just it's like on a grade, like if you're getting graded, like a teacher bumps your score from like a 92 to a 95. That's what this does. Like it's not like a make or break, but it's a nice like bump, and it's something that the Sixers need. It's not like a huge splash like Kyle Lowry, but it's just a nice quality improvement, and it's something Daryl Morey's smart with. He didn't overpay for Lowry. He stuck to what he wanted, and he got an improvement on a team without losing anything important because White's our backup center. So
and this that's actually the first thing. Not the first thing, but that's what stuck out to me most about this trade. Is this trade told me that Daryl Morey will not, one, overpay for players, or two, be on the wrong side of a big deal. He just simply will not do it. And this is a guy who's pulled mega deals in the past. Like, don't forget about what he did with the Rockets last year and 2 years ago to dump big contracts off of the Rockets. But in both cases this season, going to get James Harden and going to get Kyle Lowry, both the Rockets and the Raptors called the Sixers back with too much. And Daryl Morey hung up the phone. Like he will not be on the wrong side. He will not give up the best assets just to get the household name, the name that's buzzing right now. Like he truly wouldn't do it. When they asked for Ben Simmons and Tyrese Maxey and picks for James Harden, he was like, nope, that's too much. When they asked for Matisse Maxey and picks for Kyle Lowry, he's like, nope, that's too much. I'm gonna go ahead and get George Hill and not sacrifice the pseudo pieces on my team to do it. Like he's a very above average GM for willing to dig his heels in the sand and say, this is where I'm not gonna go.
Right. He has a good feel on like market value and where he stands. With the Houston deal, like he knew the Sixers had the best offer on the table. The fact that Houston decided to not take the best deal on the table, that you can't hold that against him. So I agree. Everything that I've seen out of Philly on the court, off the court, in the front office has been incredibly encouraging. And it all comes down to the playoffs. So we're going to see, but you know where I stand.
This move is great. This move is great. And Matt's talking about this little bump from a 92 to a 95. Well, we're talking about a title contender. We're talking about the number one team in the East for basically the whole season now. We have been. I mean, it took us a second to get there, but that is the bump you need. This team needed a backup point guard. They needed maybe some bench shooting. I know we have Shake, maybe not the most efficient. Furkan's there one night, isn't there the next night. And you bring it in the guy that led the league in three-point percentage last year. I mean, I'm a little high on it because I got the receipts in my phone from a group text. I was like, who the Sixers going to get? And I said, George Hill. And I said, maybe DeLon Wright. But I mean, this is the perfect piece to get. Lowry was way too much of an overpay. You mess up your future if you bring that Lowry in. Not too much, but this was the perfect piece to get for the Sixers. You needed a backup point guard.
I mean, and it's funny because I was thinking about the Rockets, deal the whole time. And what was funny about, to me, what Daryl Morey did with the Rockets deal is he knew exactly what they were working with. Like he had just faxed all the paperwork back over to them, just cleared his hard drive. Like he knew exactly what was going on with them. He knows, like, we have the best deal. Trust me, like I actually know from financially where they standpoint, we got the best deal. So he knew when then, if you're asking for more, then that's fine. Y'all can go dig your own hole.
When Ben Simmons gets in foul trouble, the offense goes to complete shit. And now that we have that backstop, we have a floor general, he's never had a lot of assists, but he's just a smart vet who's been in a lot of big games, and he'll calm the storm. And he'll play like 25 minutes a game, and you won't be upset about him playing that many minutes.
And that's what I liked about all these Daryl Morey moves. The pieces he's bringing in are these players, this mold. I mean, you bring in Dwight, you bring in Danny Green coming off of a championship, Danny Green coming off of
little holes in the team. He patches them up.
Seth Curry. You're bringing in these guys that are vets. You know, they're team guys. They've been on winners. 2 coming off of a championship, and George Hill coming off the Bucks.
He turned Zaire Smith into Tony Bradley, which turned into George Hill. That's just good GMing. You build on top. You trade the paper clip for the pencil, then the pencil for the pen. It's that kind of stuff.
He really told Elton Brand, hold my beer for a second. As soon as he got in. It literally took him a couple months to construct this roster. It's nuts. But I'm glad we went on to what George Hill does on the court, because we talk about this with Giannis all the time with a primarily full court game. When the game slows down, come, home stretch of the regular season and in the playoffs, it becomes much more of a half court game. And that's where the Sixers have found their limitations every single playoff since they've gotten this tandem of Simmons and Embiid. And George Hill may not start. He'll play starter-esque minutes and crucial minutes. He will end, the game. He will end halves. He will be at those moments where you may need to weather a storm, or you may just need to make sure we end this blank correctly. We need this stretch to go our way, and it's a slower game. We can't rely on a full court game right now. That's where he's going to come in. And to be honest, because of the moves the other Eastern Conference contenders made, it didn't stick out to me. Jake, you were talking off camera about how the Philly radio was bitching about this move, and I kind of understood it because it's not like the name splashing that the other teams made. And I thought you kind of had almost what you had in George Hill and Danny Green. But now but when I think about it further, he's more of a point guard than Danny Green is to a shooting guard, and you need that presence. Like you need just that veteran, point guard presence. The reason you were going to get Kyle Lowry. So I'm higher on the deal than I initially was. At first, I was like, this, what does this do? 92 to 95, sure, but it's a crucial 3 points.
It's going to be huge. It's going to be huge.
It's crucial. All right, so moving down the list, there's a lot of them. This one is easy to dissect. Rondo straight up for Harden. Rondo straight up for Lou Will. Yeah, it would be a crazy trade. Rondo to the Clippers, Lou Will to the Hawks. Straight up moved them. I think this is in the Clippers' benefit, but a lot of people like the move for the Hawks as well. Sitting at the 8th seed in the
you got to look at the Clippers first, right? This is the team destined to make the playoff run, and this is their year. You can't say the same about the Hawks. The one thing that concerns me out with this deal is, and I think Rondo's going to play, but you're going into a locker room that has Reggie Jackson and Pat Beverly, 2 other point guards. 2 point guards include, especially Reggie Jackson, that are playing well this season. So I know Rondo's the guy you need in the playoffs. He played about 24 minutes a game for the Lakers last year, but are you really going to, this team has so many guards. Are you really going to find enough minutes for everyone? And is Rondo really that guy to replace these people?
Kawhi wanted a point guard to start the season. Kawhi wanted to go get Chris Paul in the offseason. Kawhi wanted this same style of Kyle Lowry.
To get rid of Beverly, though, and I feel like Beverly's a good piece in the playoffs. So I don't know. I like it, though.
The thing with Lou Williams that the last 2 times he's played on a real contender, which was the Rockets in 2016-17 and the Clippers last year, he completely shat the bed in the playoffs. 12.8 points per game last year, shot 23% from 3.
Yeah, that's bad.
With the Rockets, it was 12.5 points per game, 30% from 3. He's just completely fallen off when his team needed it most. And they traded him for the most playoff high performer of this generation, who's played up more in the playoffs than anyone but Rondo. They call it playoff Rondo for a reason, and they have championship experience that goes with Kawhi, and it's just a smart move for both teams. And then for, like you said, with the Hawks, another scorer. Rondo wasn't doing much for that team, and I think Lou Williams is going to have a nice little niche in Atlanta in their little fun season they're having.
Oh, Lou about to be at Magic City. Lou about to be at Magic City for the win.
That's the perfect trade for him. He commissioned this one. Yeah, he had to get in proximity. But I do think, James, as you said, like that mold of like Chris Paul, Kyle Lowry, like
Why
Rondo,
would?
very hard-nosed, veteran, defensively minded, team-oriented. I
Mhm.
think it's a great fit, and overall, like they were rumored to be like intensely looking at Lonzo Ball. I would say Rondo is like a worse, older, cheap, much cheaper version of Lonzo Ball that you get
I don't
for
know if it's
essentially a
worse
guy
because
who
that playoff experience is intangible. I don't want young Buck who, to Kyle's point, I've seen it. I don't want young Buck who hasn't been there before. I want Rondo fresh off a chip.
How
exactly.
about
So
my
I'm so
fault? How
go ahead.
about Rondo on his 7th team since Boston, which was like
Man,
6
ain't
years
that
ago?
crazy?
Ridiculous.
Ain't that crazy? But I mean, think about the championship teams Kawhi's been on. The Spurs and the Raptors to this point. Both having that same mold of point guard that facilitating, can score when they need to, but very reliable point guard, Tony Parker, and then Kyle Lowry. And he wanted a facilitator. They needed a facilitator. And I think Rondo fits perfectly. Facilitate on offense, play good defense. That's right in the Clippers' mantra.
It would be super ironic if he. I mean, I don't think the Clippers are going to the finals, but he's with the Lakers goes to the finals. Then he's right across. Well, not even right across the hall. The same building brings LA if they were to go to the finals would be
Mm-hmm.
incredible. But yeah, overall not a bad trade. I don't think it moves the needle much for me though.
Yeah,
But
I just don't know what Rondo's role is really gonna be here. Even with the Lakers, he didn't play that much.
but
He
but
wasn't
he
the
but he
reason they
was
won the
crucial.
championship.
But he
Yeah,
was but he was crucial. You
I guess
know
the
he was
Clippers need
crucial.
that. The Clippers need that more than the Lakers did.
Probably. I agree
Yeah,
with that. I agree with that. All right, something that definitely moved the needle. Victor Oladipo to the Miami Heat for Kelly Olynyk and Avery Bradley straight up. I mean, I think there's another trade that benefits both teams, but the Heat are looking to make a jump adding Victor Oladipo, proven all-star in this league, looks to have come back when he wants to, you know, good and healthy off that bad leg injury that he had. I think this is good for the Heat.
It's
yeah,
great for the Heat. This is a
it's great
steal.
for the Heat.
This is Pat Riley at it again. I mean,
Come on,
he
man.
is once again
Good Don.
cultivating this talent down there in South Beach. It just makes me sick to my stomach how bad Houston played the entire Harden situation because you end up trading Victor Oladipo for two guys you most likely are going to waive. And what else did they get? A pick swap of some sort?
It was something like
Overall,
that. Yeah,
regardless, even if it was a first round pick, why wouldn't you just keep Karis LeVert? If you're going to trade Oladipo, you have
yeah.
Karis LeVert, who is healthier. Well, thankfully now healthier, and in my opinion, better than Oladipo in the first place.
I don't think they thought they were going to trade Vic. I thought when they got Vic, they had John Wall, Victor Oladipo, Boogie Cousins, Christian Wood. I think they thought they were going to do something, and then it went to hell. Then it went to hell quick, and they became. I mean, when they made that Victor Oladipo trade, there was Rockets faithful talking about second round playoff appearance. Like they were high about their team even after
They're the
losing
worst
James
team in the
Harden.
league.
And
Congratulations.
and then they proceeded to lose 20 straight. They waived Boogie. Christian Wood got hurt. Like it literally all went. It couldn't have went downhill more quickly than it did for the Rockets. I don't think when they got Victor Oladipo that they thought in 2 months that they would be shipping him off for
Yeah.
for Avery Bradley and Kelly.
Daryl Morey is laughing at the organization right now about what just happened. This could have never happened under him. But in terms of the Heat, I mean, I know Victor Oladipo's probably not, that guy. He's not the same dude after the injury. He's back a little bit. He shows spurts, but he's not that guy every night like he used
Mhm.
to be. But he's still putting up, 21 points a game? I mean,
I
this is
think
a huge piece.
I think
Tyler
lower
Hero's
volume
having
is
a
going to
bad
help
year.
him a lot. He's forced to
Yeah.
shoot a bunch of bad shots because the rest of that Rockets team is so dreadful. His percentages will go. I think his scoring will go down to like 14 points per game, but his percentages will go back to what he was doing at Indiana.
And Oladipo's still a good defender. I mean, this is a guy they might need. They made that run last year, but Tyler Hero's not looking like he could repeat what he did last year, a key guy on the team. And you lose Olynyk, who, okay, probably plays 28 minutes a night, but Precious Achiuwa's been waiting for minutes. He's been money. Iguodala, probably not playing the volume he needs to. Iguodala's going to get a bump of minutes. It doesn't hurt their team at all. All you're doing is adding in another bucket on your squad that, by the way, plays defense and can pass the ball. I mean, I think that he got a little more dangerous because people were kind of sleeping on them off of the title run last year. Like, oh, that was Cinderella's story. They got a little more dangerous this year. I'm not sure where they're at, but it could be a little scary.
They at the very least got Jimmy some help. At the very least, like if he's going to put the entire squad on his back again, he's going to need somebody else to pick it up every once in a while. Vic could at least do that.
I mean, and
I mean,
granted,
Bam did that.
I agree that like it is like it can't be a negative just based on the value they got out of the deal. But number one, I think Butler and like when you're talking about like winning titles, building a team to win a title, like I don't think Oladipo and Butler fit that well together. They kind of, I mean, they're not the same player. Jimmy's a lot more defensively focused, but they kind of have the same style. They both need the ball in their hands. And overall, like I know there's people talking about Victor Oladipo's knee being a huge question mark. And some teams that's a reason a lot of teams were kind of crossing him off their trade list. But I guess, and at the end of the day, like I've been saying, a win is a win for Miami. You gave up Avery Bradley and Olynyk, and you got a guy who used to be an all-star.
There are a couple of GMs in this trade deadline that are just not playing games. Daryl Morey and Pat Riley are at the top of that list. They're just not playing games when it comes to this trade deadline stuff. All right, couple more. We got to move through them quick so we can move on. This one, again, you were talking about deals that came out of nowhere. This one came out of nowhere for me. Gary Harris, Gary Clark, and RJ Hampton to Orlando for Aaron Gordon to go back to the Nuggets. The Magic, we talk about the Hall. The Magic kind of cleaned house just now. And Aaron Gordon goes, it might fit, goes mile high to Denver. And everyone's looking for Denver to come back and really stamp themselves amidst this Western Conference playoff contention. And does this do it? Does this, does this, to me, this kind of replaces what they had in Jeremy Grant last year. A little bit.
They're scary right now. I mean, they're getting these guys in, and Lakers are banged up. Clippers are really the only one they're looking at above them right now for the time being. Lakers will be back in the playoffs, but hey, Nuggets were there last year. They're playing good basketball, and Aaron Gordon can excel this team to a next level. I don't think it's a huge pickup. I think he never developed into that superstar we thought he could be 3 years ago, but he's still a solid player. And you said that Jeremy Grant. I like that comparison.
I think it's an easy improvement. Gary Harris has been injured all year, hasn't been shooting well.
Yeah.
And Millsap is really showing his age this year. And Gordon is just an improvement over every... He does what Millsap does. He's basically Paul Millsap for 5 years ago, except right now.
I was about to say the same exact thing.
It's... The Nuggets are there. Their net rating really shows that they're one of the best teams in the West at 4.6. I think they'll climb. They'll pass the Lakers. They really got to hope that they don't get a 4-5 matchup against the Lakers, which would be really unfair to them.
Right.
But if they can climb up and they can make noise, I trust them in the playoffs more than I trust Phoenix or Utah. So
I do too.
They were able to make the deal without giving up, some guys who I think would be more coveted. Granted, Aaron Gordon isn't going to pull you like a Michael Porter Jr., I don't think, even though his minute situation's been a little interesting over there. But one thing I would watch now that they did away with two of their guards is their guard depth. Because if you have Jamal Murray go down, like, you're not, I mean, I guess, like, whatever, you could pick out any team and say your second guy goes down, but, like, you're in big trouble in terms of your guard depth. If you lose Will Barton or Jamal Murray, you're going to be starting Facundo Campazzo. I mean,
Monte Morris.
Monte Morris is there. Monte Morris is there.
They
do have Monte Morris. He's currently out, but like you are correct. I actually forgot about Monte Morris.
Right.
So
going down the road.
But I do think overall Denver got better. And on the Magic side of things, they're kind of the they've been sending everyone out, but the pieces that they've got in, I do like RJ Hampton, and you add to draft capital. So overall, not bad for either team.
I think it's a win-win.
The Magic can either keep banging their head up against the same 8th-seeded brick wall every year, or they can say at some point we have to move pieces to get pieces. At some point we got to start looking further. Nick Vooch doesn't get any younger. Evan Fournier doesn't get any younger. These pieces don't get any younger. And if we can be the 7 and 8 seed for the next 3 to 4 years to ride out their contract, what does that do for us? What does that do for anybody?
They really blew their chance with Vucevic early on. They had Oladipo, they had Tobias Harris, they had Vucevic, and they had Fournier. That's a good 4 that you could build off. But they got rid of Oladipo and Tobias Harris really early, and they never were able to build around Vuce, and now they're getting another chance to start from scratch.
Mm-hmm. I think Ibaka was somewhere in that mix. I don't know if he's on that exact roster.
Ibaka was and they traded to Oladipo to OKC for Ibaka.
Right. That's right. Last point I'll make is that Aaron Gordon leaving also makes room for Jonathan Isaac to fully grow when he comes back next year. I think that he's a great young player, and he is someone who they can build around, I mean, among other players, but I like him, and now he has room to grow there.
Very true, very true. Last one. We just talked about him. We said his name very briefly. Evan Fournier goes to the Boston Celtics for 2 second-round picks. All y'all, and it doesn't surprise me, all y'all are Sixers fans. So every year Boston, you kind of just do a stank face and shrug your shoulders. But you heard this.
It's
you know what I mean?
Move.
For a team that's underachieving, getting someone like Evan Fournier, I think is a good move.
Right now, it's a good move. But the way I see the Eastern Conference, there's there are only 3 teams that have a shot to win the East, and then like the Heat are like under the curtain, like maybe they'll jump out. I don't see anyone else having a shot to actually win the East. The Celtics, they improved their team. It's a good move for them, but in terms of like moving the needle in the Eastern Conference, I don't see it doing much.
Daniel Tice was in this deal?
No, Tice moved in another deal, and that's what I was going to bring up because I don't care about this Fournier thing really. I mean, you just got rid of Tice. What are you trying to do? Small ball? Because James Harden tried to do it and it didn't work, and you don't have James Harden.
Yeah, Tristan top at the 5 still. Come on, man.
Yeah, come on. Like, I don't care much about this. I think Fournier is a good player. I think it's insurance because we've seen injuries on this team recently with Kemba and Marcus Smart, maybe there. But now you have 5. I mean, Tatum's not a guard, but he plays the wing most of the time. You got 5 guys. Your 5 best players all play the 1 through 3. Tatum's technically a 4, but you see what I'm saying. I'm not huge on this deal.
It's basically a store brand Gordon Hayward.
You make the deal because it makes you better, but I don't think it matters. And I'm looking at it from purely a Sixers Eastern Conference point of view.
It may not matter to y'all being number 1, but if this moves the Celtics from where they are, 7-8 right now, where they are, back to 4, 5, 6 range, that does something for them.
It's only like half a game difference if you look at this.
And the way they're playing, I don't know what, they're not going to make a 4 or 5 game jump by the end of the season. It might be a half game to a game jump in the standings that they're going to get, but seeding matters. Like, seeding definitely matters. And a closing lineup of Kemba, Evan Fournier, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and whoever you want at the 5. I was going to say Tristan Top, but whoever you want at the 5, that's not a bad closing lineup. You might have to go small, but that's not a bad closing lineup right there.
Yeah.
They're going to need some bigs, man. They're doomed until they get some bigs, especially if Kemba Walker is going to be playing like how he's been playing. So, that makes me feel better at the end of the day as a Sixers fan. Going to bed really helps knowing the Celtics are 8 seed and they stink.
Hey, want that 1-8 matchup. If y'all see the Celtics, y'all best not lose. That's what I'm going to say. Y'all best not lose.